Hello, and welcome to the Tavern Chat podcast. I am your host, Eric Tenkar, and this is another of our Designers Makers series of Fireside Chats. Today, I have Jonathan, best known as Pexx, the Tavern Custodian on our Discord server. Pexx, welcome.
Hey, everybody.
You've probably heard Pexx on other podcasts like the RPG Breakfast Club. So he shouldn't be a total foreigner for you. And he also hangs out in our Wednesday night chats. So I shall introduce. I guess you're like the newest frog, by the way, aren't you?
I did. I got a promotion.
So like you're no longer a tadpole. You're like what's in between tadpole and like frog. I mean,
Yeah. I would say that's fair. I mean, I've been talking to the frogs for the last couple of years here and pitching ideas, doing stuff for fun and volunteering pretty much. And they came and knocking on my door, and I said yes, please, yes.
So you didn't like hide behind the curtains like if the Jehovah's were coming.
No. I mean, it's like, hey, you want to go to Disneyland? Heck yeah, I do.
Oh, all right. It's kind of like Publishers Clearinghouse coming there with that big fake check.
Exactly. All the joy and no problem.
There you go. Well, listen, Pexx, we're going to start you with those 5 questions that I ask of everybody. And as you well know, after that, it becomes pretty much a sandbox. We go where we go.
Sounds good.
Question number 1. Tell us about your first RPG experience.
Oh, back when I was a young lad. I was probably 13, maybe 14, and my friend found a box of his dad's old D&D stuff. I think it was a mix of second and first edition, if I recall. None of us knew the rules. We picked a guy to be the DM. He actually turned out to be pretty great after a couple years of learning. But we started with that, and it didn't really matter what we played. And I think we really made up the rules as we went. I think there was a rule book, but I think it was the wrong system for what we were playing. That's why I said it was a mix of second and first edition.
Okay.
And let's see, what was the first game we played? I think he made his own. He did. I remember the stupid poster he made in marker, with the fake names on there that he made up himself. We played that for that whole summer, and I was sold after that. I really was. And started going into they weren't game stores. They're like the new fad game stores where it's comic books, magic cards, RPG books, or in the corner somewhere, and your war game stuff as well. It's just like that old variety shop, I guess you call it, not a pure gaming store.
Right.
And it just spiraled after that, and then took a break in my 20s, my early 20s, and came back to it probably my late 20s. Then I put on my DM hat and started DMing. And I've been doing DMing work ever since. Was in Pathfinder for a good bit, and then through that
God
I found.
Bless you.
I know. I drank the Kool-Aid, and that's how I found Frog Eyed Games, though. So that's the good thing that came out of that.
All right, fair enough. So then, you DM Pathfinder. God, I feel like I'm talking to a heretic. But these days, what is your go-to RPG system?
That would be Beckme or Rules Encyclopedia, Basic Expert, Master, Immortal, Companion. Forgot Companion there. I really like it, and I mainly like it because of the Mystara setting. I love that setting so much. If those don't know, the Mystara setting is the official Beckme /RC setting, or Basic and Expert too, I believe.
The Mystara later became known as what? The known world for.
No.
guess it was.
It started as the known world because they didn't have a name for it. Everybody,
Oh, okay.
yeah, they didn't have a name for it. So they just said it was the known world, and that was in the days where we don't care. It doesn't matter. We're not continuity. Doesn't matter. We're just going to slap stuff in. The good old days.
Right.
And then they officially started to make it a world setting and gave it a name, Mystara, and it went all the way up until the early mid '90s, I believe. So it lasted a good while. It died out with the TSR, but yeah.
Well, when TSR flamed out with their multiple settings, because
Right.
everybody, yeah. Birthright was where I started, losing it. I couldn't follow what you were supposed to do, but that's me.
Well, when they decide, hey, we're going to nuke every setting we have and start over, that's a great idea.
You gotta cash those checks, dude. Those checks.
Yeah. I will say those 2E box sets for Mystara were fantastic. The box sets themselves, maybe not necessarily the
Right.
content. But I think box sets are the coolest thing ever.
Oh, dude, I'd have to agree, and it's a shame because I have some box sets from days of yore that are in great shape, and then I have some that are recent that are not. It's hard to find somebody. Not everybody's a Zach Laser. Shout out to Zach, who when he was self-publishing, could find a company that could put together sturdy, good-looking boxes. I've got boxes that just the corners broke after, I don't know, putting the books back after the first reading.
Right, here's the thing. When you got a box set and you open it, you knew you were going to get awesome stuff inside. It was like um,
Christmas.
it was Christmas every time you got a box set. You're right.
Yeah, this is something very special. Like even opening up the Fantasy Trip. The Fantasy Trip box set was so packed. I think the box couldn't close properly. But yeah, you look in there, and you're like, oh my god, I've got all this, and it's like, jeez,
I
awesome.
mean, you know, a good box set is when you unpack it and it fills up your entire table. That's a good box set right there.
Yes, and it's even better when you can't put everything back in and still close the lid. In other words, they designed it so that everything fit perfectly, and since you can never put it back perfectly, it never closes properly again.
Mm-hmm. It like has that raise above. You can see the border of the box where it's
Yep,
not perfectly
yep.
shut.
It's like, ah, damn it, I came close, but not quite. Not quite. All right, so you've played uh, uh, Basic Expert, so then this question is applicable to you. Uh, Race is class. Where do you stand on it?
Love it. Sorry,
Oh,
love
well,
it.
gee, love it. Next question, please.
Uh-huh. No, I love the idea of that because um, I think I don't like the idea of everybody being special, so I don't like the generic cookie cutter. You can be whatever you want, and I think race's class is a big part in that. Where yeah, you're a dwarf, but it goes a little bit beyond that. You may have, I mean, you get the stereotype. You're probably good at mining. You're probably good at identifying gems. Definitely stonework, that kind of thing. I think that adds value to the race slash class
Okay,
because it makes them unique, and I like uniqueness in my games.
fair enough. Fair enough. Hey, I'll take that as an answer. All right, so
Good, it's
now,
the only one I got.
uh, tough shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so now, next one for you. Save or die. This is one that divides the masses to a large extent, at least the people I've interviewed or sat down on these fireside chats. Where do you stand on save or die?
Well,
Not
I will.
not the podcast either. Just
The Carl Heil guy. I mean, who's he?
dude. I was a host at one point, so I mean, come on. We know it's awesome. We know the Save or Die podcast on all iterations is fucking awesome. That's not the question. Save or die in your campaigns. Roll that d20. Save or die.
I'm for it. However, most of my players hate it. They really, really do. But me personally, I'm for it as a DM and a player. However, as a DM, I've grown a little hypocritical, I guess, in my answer here. And I do use an alternate rule set for Save or Die. And I use the damage version instead because it gives them a secondary chance on top of their saving throw to not just outright splat it, unless you're low level.
All right. So what do you consider to be death damage?
Death damage?
Like if you say like in other words, all right. Well, this is save or die, but we're not going to make it save or die. We're going to make it save or suffer 20d6 damage. I mean, like what?
The variant I use is you save for half damage, and it's a d6 per hit die of the creature. So if it's a 4 hit die creature, it's a 4 die 6. You save, you take half of that result damage. So either way, if you get hit and it's like a poison type creature, you're still going to take damage, just a matter of how much.
And if you're not at full strength, it likely will kill you.
You're half health, and unless I roll terrible, you're still going to die. But there's that chance, just like rolling a d20. There's that 5% chance to come up with a 20, right?
Right. Okay. Hey, I'll be honest with you. I lean toward your method anyway, because save or die is harsh as written, and I don't like using something like that as a random trap or random event. As I said elsewhere and other times, if it's at the end of your adventure where the big treasure room is, the player should expect that the door is going to be trapped, the chest may be trapped. Hell, there may be a trap in between the door and the chest. And if they go in without worrying about such, they should pay the consequence. So you should have your save or die should often be telegraphed. They should know the possibility is coming up. Like I said, it shouldn't be that random pit trap in the hallway that drops them, 100 feet. So at least that's how I see it.
No, I think you're right. But as a player, if I sit down at another table as a player, I'd be totally fine with save or die, honestly, because I'm just used to it. It's what I grew up with.
All right. Well, I gotta, and before we move on to our last question, you admitted to running Pathfinder. Now,
I
when
did.
you ran,
Shame on me.
Shame on you. We'll never let you live that one down, Pexx. But in Pathfinder, save or die is probably much more harsh than Swords and Wizardry.
Yeah, and I think there's a reason for that. The reason being is you were playing super high fantasy, and thus the consequences are also super high. In that regard, to save or die.
Right, but now, like, if you die in an OSR game, I can fifth level character will say, and I tell you to re-roll another fifth level character, you're probably up and running in 10, 15 minutes. Pathfinder, how long does that take you?
I mean, how many splat books are we including? That's my question. If it's a general Pathfinder house ruled X amount of books, it's going to take you at least half an hour, and that's if you know everything. If you don't, you're looking at hour and a half, 3 hours.
All right, so it's really a harsh penalty in Pathfinder.
Yeah, it's not your roll 3d6 and coming back on and join the game 2 minutes later. Fill out the sheet as you go. No, because in Pathfinder you have to be much more intricate in your decisions with all the options to consider. It's just too many, in my opinion.
I agree, and I just brought that up because in some ways, concepts like save or die are addition reactive. It's like, yeah, OSR less harsh, Pathfinder more harsh. So I just wonder if it's used less in the games where it has more of a time sink involved. I guess it's metagaming, but
Right, and usually, as far as Pathfinder, it's more of save or suck and hope you live out the encounter once the suck happens.
Oh, okay. See,
Um,
I own the Pathfinder rules. I own a lot of the Pathfinder rules. I've never actually played it.
I would say the adventures are hit and miss as far as their adventures would go. The rules, if you love crunch, go for it. Go for it. It has all the crunch you could ever want.
Yeah, I'm not that crunchy.
I don't mind crunch. It's just nowadays, I'd rather spend my time not looking at rules, but looking at the adventures, figuring out what I want to do and how I want to play it with my groups. Learning a new set of rules to apply on top of rules twice a month, that got a bit much for me. Though doable,
Yeah.
and people still do it, I don't got time for that. I really don't. I would rather spend my time in the quote unquote quality part of DMing versus the schooling part.
I'm sorry. I'm just thinking of the YouTube video. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Uh, exactly. Ain't nobody got time
Yeah.
for that.
Ain't nobody got that. I'm gonna go off and I'm gonna get in a lot of trouble. In any case, let's move on to the final question. You came into gaming around 13 or 14.
Mm-hmm.
You're a youngin, so that's about
I'm
what half
still
the
a young in Tenkar Tavern. You're absolutely right.
yeah. So that's about what. But still, it's like half a lifetime for you.
Yeah, yeah.
What would that teenage you think if they could see what you'd be doing in the hobby at this point in your life?
He probably asked himself two questions. One, how'd you get so fat? Second question he would ask himself would be, you have the luckiest job in the world, you son of a bitch.
Nice.
But yeah,
And
those are
but
these versions of the
getting
question.
old means getting fat for a lot of us, so don't feel too bad.
Yeah, I do need to work off my gamer gut here, but yeah, that would be his responses there.
Okay, fair enough. And like I said earlier, now we're moving on to the sandbox aspect.
Oh
So,
no.
oh no, oh dear, oh gosh, oh golly me.
Bring on the
So now
random encounters.
you are now pretty much wired in with the frogs.
I am. And I think no, I would say I'm probably the second youngest in that group. I think Ben Barsh is a few years younger than I.
Yeah, I knew Ben when I don't know if Ben can legally drink yet. So yes, isn't that the two things? Can you vote? Can you drink? 18, 21. He's in between the two, I believe.
Yeah. So yeah, but he's doing more of the video promotional side of things. I'm more in the back end design, helping out with stuff kind of thing, and pretty much Zach's helper, glorified. I wouldn't call me a secretary, but yeah,
Executive assistant?
there we go. Personal assistant, executive assistant.
I would go with executive. Personal assistant sounds kind of personal.
And yeah, the jokes would be funny if I was secretary, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, helping with the website, coming up with new ideas for new products, um, helping with the Kickstarter now, inventory type stuff. What else do I do? Oh, I'm really, really trying to push the social media and build that up, mainly starting with Facebook here. Big believer in social media. Sorry for those that don't use it. What else do I do? I do many little small things that add up to a lot. So yeah.
Well, you're huge on the Tenkar's Tavern Discord server. I mean, you're huge for these fireside chats. Yeah, you certainly know my schedule better than I do, and
Yeah.
and you're more organized than this 51-year-old fuck here. So yes, the energy of youth.
Yeah. I would say that's true. I'll probably slow down in a few years here, but yeah.
I'll take it. At your age, I was walking the streets of the South Bronx. Trust me, you still have the energy of youth going for you for at least another 10 years.
Well, that's good to know.
And then you start talking things like, yeah, I don't know if this is right for me anymore. Slowing down in my upper 40s.
Yeah, I mean, starting to get some gray in my hair and beard, so yeah, there's that.
That's purely stress. Now, seriously, I got my first gray hair. You wouldn't know it. I didn't turn all gray, but my first gray hair snuck in when I was 17. My sister was nice enough to point it out on Easter Sunday.
Nice.
And then she found like two others, and I was like, just stop, stop. I don't need to know.
I'm a human being.
Yes. Stop trying to pick nits from my hair like I don't know, an orangutan out there. These are gray hairs. They're not bugs to eat. Stop it. Stop it. But hey, at least the good thing is they say if you gray early, you don't lose it.
Right.
So 6 of one, a half dozen of the other, I guess. But now with you just went your convention earlier. Was it earlier this month? The end of last month? Losing track of math. Yeah.
It was in April, and that was with Red River Con guys. We were super awesome, by the way. I um I I haven't been too big in the con scene, but I'm starting to now. Working with Frog God Games, it was actually I had a good time. It was really it was a smaller type convention, but I didn't mind that, and everybody was even the general vendors were nice, and the general people attendees were nice, and the owners were nice. Everybody was nice. It was a good con.
Well, I was never a huge convention goer until I got involved with the OSR, and then even more so getting involved with Frog God Games. Because in my youth, uh, I guess when I was 19 or 20, I went to a convention at Columbia University in New York City. We just went for one game session and a little shopping. And then I went to Gen Con, I think it was 50 in 93 or 94. And that was it for me for conventions until I hit North Texas. And that goes back about, I guess, 6 years ago now. And at this point, I am going to be doing 4 full 4-day conventions and one-day convention this year. And I couldn't be happier. I did not think that I would be enjoying conventions as much as I do, but anybody who knows me knows I can be a yapper and tough to shut up. And conventions are a good chance to talk with people that I know online, but maybe don't get a chance to meet face to face. And
I've been to two previous to this on my own without any encouragement from companies and whatnot. They were board gaming centric, and to be honest, I was bored at the board gaming conventions.
just didn't do it.
Just didn't do it for me. RPG conventions, like Red River Con here, renamed to Long Con too, by the way. Plug for those guys.
Okay.
It was a lot more. I felt like I was with my people. I really did.
And that's what makes it special. And like I said, I'll be doing, I guess, total 5 cons this year. North Texas was my first of when I came back to going to conventions, and it's like your first love. That's just something special about it. But Gamehole and GaryCon and TotalCon and the One Day Con, ShireCon coming up in September. Oh yes, Tom, I know I need to officially register for. I am a I don't know, notable guest or whatever we're calling it. Yeah, it's something really special, and I don't even get a chance to play games in most of these. I run them. Don't get me wrong. I run games, and I generally work a vending table for the frogs. But I'm mostly there to meet and greet people in the community and make those connections. To I don't know. I find that to be the most rewarding. That socialization aspect. That makes any sense.
No, it totally does. I get what you're coming from. Everybody speaks the same language. Everybody has an inkling of an idea of what you're talking about. It's not like you have to explain what you're not trying to explain the content of what you're talking about. Everybody's on the same page. It's much more comfortable that way.
Yes, certainly. And it is you can meet somebody and be like, wow, I feel like I've known them for years, and you've start talking to them 5 minutes ago, and something you might have known for years because maybe you knew them from online, but man, there's something special about that.
Right. It's like, do you remember when in X Dungeon or X Adventure? Yeah. It's just a whole experience thing. Everybody can relate to it, and it's the relatability that I think makes or breaks a gathering of folks in whatever circumstance in life.
Well, and you're touching on something that's true. Like you can talk to somebody and you talk about, I don't know, B2 or Tome of Horrors or I don't know, Temple of Elemental Evil, and we've all experienced it, but our experiences are all different, but we still share that commonality. A shared, although the specifics are different and unique, we do share that commonality of having these experiences together.
Absolutely. I
Which,
100% agree.
yeah, and that's an interesting thing about our hobby and about role playing is especially with these iconic adventures. And I couldn't tell you what the iconic adventures are for third edition, maybe Sunless Citadel or something like that, but or Citadel. There I am talking like a New Yorker. I don't recognize the word. What is it? Citadel, Citadel. Holy shit! These iconic adventures are just I don't know. They're these links that allow us to again have these conversations about experiences and a role playing game, a playing session is an experience. It might be rooted in imagination, but you're sharing an imaginative experience with other players at your table, and other groups are experiencing this imaginative experience amongst themselves. And I guess in a way, it's if this is reality, different dimensions or shadows of the same history and events, just played out differently.
Yeah.
Am I getting too theoretical?
No, you're not getting too theoretical. I think you're exploring something everybody kind of knows in the back of their noggin or in their subconscious. And it's good to talk about these things because I think the more you understand not only yourself but other human beings in general, the more you can. Well, I'm going to say it. The more you can evolve your own growth as a human, your individual humanity.
Oh yeah, you can't grow as a person without knowing other people. And that's the whole thing when it comes to even in social media. I have I, I don't like the idea of echo chambers and walled gardens and the like because all it does is it reinforces your own biases. And the only way you get past your own biases is to deal with people, general people, not just ones that think like you, but ones that disagree with you. That's part of life. There's safe spaces aren't a realistic part of life, and just like it isn't a realistic part of your dungeon. Even when we try to have that safe space in the dungeon, when we find a room like, oh, this is a good room. It's only got one exit. the door opens in so we can spike it shut doesn't mean it's safe. You know,
You're never safe. Ha ha ha.
you're never safe in a dungeon. But now, before you were saying about talking about your responsibilities with Frog God Games, and I mean, I'll be honest with you. My experiences with you on the Discord server have been not blowing smoke up your ass, Pexx, but if I was, it's been fucking awesome.
Well, first comment is you stay away from my ass, but no, you're right.
Well, no, don't worry. I meant it in a totally platonic way.
I know. A platonic ass
But
blowing. Continue, sir.
yeah, well,
Continue.
but it's smoke blowing, just that the ass happens to be nearby. But I mean, you are, in my experience, the definition of teamwork. There is no I in Pexx, and that shows. You have always been an excellent team player, and that is one of the highest compliments I can give anybody. And I do think that with the Frogs, you are definitely one hell of an addition.
Well, thank you on both counts. I mean, I love working with you, and I love working with the Frogs. It's a joy. It really is, and I love hearing different perspectives because I didn't think of that. That's a good idea. I really appreciate those moments in life. When I thought of every angle, and then someone like yourself, or someone like Zach, or Mike, or Bill, or any of the other Frogs says something like, I couldn't even see that coming. That is genius. Good job.
Well, and I truly believe that when it comes to working with people that you make that connection with, that the sum is always greater than the parts, because you're always adding something that you couldn't add on your own. Either party couldn't add on their own. You need the multiple parts to come together to make everything fit, and that's why I really enjoy being with the Frogs and being a convention coordinator, which I still haven't figured out exactly what that entails, aside from running games and I guess setting up the table, because nobody does it like me and Rach. But yeah, there's just something really special about working with people that can bring out the best in you.
Right, exactly. I mean, and I'll tell you about this hobby. I've met some of the most interesting people here, and I'm always surprised because usually somebody has a job on top of the hobby job, and you'd be
Yes.
fascinated by the professions individuals work. I've met people from NASA. I've met doctors, lawyers, project managers for big companies. Um, and even somebody like myself who and we all have that central commonality of gaming and our love and joy and passion for it, and that what brings us together. And you put all these people together and you can do great things. I truly am a believer in that. Many hands make light work.
uh, Assuredly. And again, that can what those commonalities are what makes this community as strong as it is. uh, Stressing out differences, everybody's different. It's what we share with others that makes the bonds. And I am so happy to be part of this community, this gaming community, this the people I interact with on a daily basis. You know, complete strangers otherwise, yet we share so much in common thanks to this hobby.
Absolutely, and that's what makes gaming great.
Well, that, and not rolling ones like Tim Shorts does when he's a player. He only rolls like 20s when he's a DM, and I've seen it. on Roll20. He must have it must have some curse for him. Players, I guess. If you're playing in Tim's game, he'll roll 20s. If Tim is playing in yours, he'll roll ones. Doesn't matter the size of the die. Yeah, it could be like a D100 roll. 1. Thank you, Tim. You can step aside.
Poor guy.
And it's experiences like that though that you'll talk about for years, and we appreciate those stories because it's all happened to somebody that we know. I've known the players that have like literally thrown dice down 4 flights of stairs at the our college science building, not because you wanted to see what would happen to a die after falling 4 flights downstairs, but because the die was rolling badly in the last game and he wanted to excise it from his gaming collection. So
Right, and thinking about it in depth here, you know what it's like? It's like going to a family Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner kind of deal, and you got your uncle who you barely see maybe a couple times a year, and he tells the same silly story over and over again. But you sit there and you listen to it, and you nod and you smile and you laugh and you sometimes cry, especially if it's terrible.
right.
But I think gaming stories like that build those memories, and it doesn't matter how many times you heard the same damn story, it's still fun every time you tell it or listen to it if you're the audience.
Yeah, and just like a family gathering, the best storytellers are the ones that know the quarter ahead. Listen, there's nothing now that you've been going to conventions again. You've seen it or experienced it. The person regaling somebody with blow by blow events at their last game session, and it's like they want to virtually chew their own arm off so they can get away from
Mm-hmm.
it. Yeah, you know if you're a good DM, and we're gonna kind of sandbox, I guess, in this place. If you're a good DM, you are probably a good storyteller, and it doesn't mean that DMing is storytelling, but it's the ability to present a situation in an entertaining and engaging way. If you don't have that ability, you're going to be a very dry DM most likely, and you might be good at the mechanics and the game rules, but on the aspect of engaging your players, you might be falling short. And I think that's a skill that comes naturally to some, but it's certainly a skill that can be learned. And I think that's more important than rules knowledge. Hey, there's one. Do you agree or disagree on that? Is the ability to engage, I want to say entertain, engage your players more important than your knowledge of the rules?
Absolutely, and nobody likes a Ben Stein DM. I'm sure he's right, but I'm falling asleep here. I want to be entertained. I want to be engaged. I want to quote unquote capture that immersion. And immersion for you, yeah, subjective, whatever. Everybody knows what I'm talking about when I say the word. But bring me to the game. Put my mind in the game. That's what everybody's want, and it requires the good table helps. But really, what makes it happen is a good DM with the storytelling or the scriptators, whatever you want to say it, descriptives that can engage your mind.
Yeah, I mean, as a player and as a GM, I think that the time I fully experienced a GM or DM that could immerse the players was actually at my one Gen Con 50, and it was a female DM, and we occasionally had female players in our group when we were in high school, usually because you were trying to date one of those girls. But it was the first time I actually played under a female GM, and she was very big in certain descriptors like smell, more so than sight, more so than what you heard. She would describe what you smelled. And I remember me, I was in it with, I was in that session with two of my friends, and I left that going, wow, I was immersed in what she was talking about. You could almost sense and smell the room or the corridor you were in. And one of my friends was like, why the hell do I want to know what shit smells like? It's at the end of the session. You know, maybe we'll take the different out of it, but for me, that was eye opening. I don't usually use smell as a descriptor in my gaming, but it did make me realize that how you describe something will certainly be part of how somebody gets immersed into something like that.
Right, you bring up a very good point about the senses. I mean, most players go to is what do I see? What do I see? Followed by what do I hear?
Right.
The other senses they kind of get backburnered by both sides, players and DMs. But if you can do a little bit more of the other senses, I think it brings you closer. The more senses you capture in a description, I'm not saying you have to give all sensory descriptors for every room descriptor, no. But for some variety and interest, the more you capture in sensory description, the more your players feel like they're there in that room or in that environment.
Yeah, which is kind of why, like, as a general GM, I am very much theater of the mind. I don't generally use miniatures except for maybe marching order or pogs. As much as I love both as tactile things to look at. And now, having run uh, games at conventions using the 3D terrain for Rapid Athic Mouth of Doom for Frog God, I had to adjust because your theater of the mind, you have the dungeon in front of you. So I had to work on describing things differently to prevent my players, I guess, from metagaming everything because they were looking at the dungeon in front. And it wasn't just keeping the pace moving and keeping them engaged, but it was describing things that they hear more so than what they see, or with what they see, these very minute details as opposed to the general. Oh, you're in a room that's 25 feet by 15 feet with a door to the north wall, a door to the south wall, and there's a pool in the middle. Well, you know what? They're all looking at that shit. I don't have to describe that. Let me move on to the stuff that they can't see. And yeah, it was different.
The air suddenly drops 15 degrees, and a spine tingling chill goes down the center of your back. I mean, those kind of things, everybody knows what I'm talking about. Everybody can remember those sensory feelings, and it engages them. And that was Pistor job. I'm sorry. I need to go back to DM school.
No. That's okay. Well, listen. There's one thing I think that DM school, if there was such a thing as DM school, I would hope that they would tell those new GMs that box text is not meant to be read word for word. It is meant to be a guide to what you have to get out to your players. But if you're reading box text, you are reading box text. And nobody talks like the box text you are reading. Nobody. No, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right with you. I mean, it's meant to be as a guideline. I think, exactly like you're saying, and I think it's your job to look at that box text and say, okay, how can I make this sound better, but keep the key 2+2=4 in there, kind of things. And you know what I hate for box text? You just brought up one of my biggest gripes. The room is empty. I hate that so much. It's like, why even tell me that? Why does this room exist? I hate you.
Well, I mean, and to go off a little bit, like Dwimmermount, when Joe the lawyer and myself and others ran a playtest session of Dwimmermount, about, I don't know, 2/3 of the rooms or so were pretty much empty. They had nothing going on. They were just there. And then apparently that's how, Gary in, I guess, the DM's guide suggests that, I don't know, 2/3 of the room should be empty. But if 2/3 of the rooms are empty, again, why are we even bothering? I don't know. So we had issues with that, and the infamous uh, two soldiers playing a game that appeared to be like chess, and they were ghost-like, and you couldn't interact with them, and they went through the same repetitious stuff. And uh, suffice to say, the 2,000 coppers, and 9 rats came from infamous and Joe did his stuff. So I feel bad.
Right.
Respect.
And we're going to get those smart ass listeners who can say, well, it's your job to fill those rooms. Well, yeah, we do that. Smart guy listening, responding to us. But it's just for pre-made adventures, you expect the content to actually have content into it. That's the complaint.
Right, and even if it's an empty room, well, there's nothing in this room aside from broken yo-yo and a bent copper piece from Tyrian Empire that disappeared from the world over 2,000 years ago. Maybe that bent copper piece is a collectible in the right hands. Maybe that's a small fortune right there. Give something, even if there's nothing. There's graffiti on the walls. This here, by the way, is in Dormer Mount. Because things like that make that empty room a lot less empty. If you're saying it's empty because it has no monsters, it has no traps, and it has no treasure, not every room needs that. But there
A
should
dead
be.
a dead hobo makes the room vastly more interesting than an empty room.
Well, yes, but a dead hobo means that your players have probably been, or some other group dungeon before your players. So there you go. Somebody's been emptying it out before them. And
There's another Scooby gang in here. I knew it.
oh no, those damn kids! I'm ready to break out into a Scooby Doo song now.
Please, for your listeners' sake, don't.
Yeah, Scooby Doo. All right,
Sorry, guys.
that's it.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I listen. I had to make it short enough so people won't have time to reach for their pause button. We wouldn't want to do that to them.
And time to go to commercial break. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have commercial breaks. Well, it breaks up the pace of the firesides if I did, and on the regular episodes that aren't fireside, only 8 to 12 minutes in general. So if you break it up with a commercial in the middle, then what do you got?
A commercial, folks walking away.
Yeah.
Well, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Anchor related, actually. Did you ever find a new sponsor from Anchor
Nope.
or no? Okay.
No. So I earn about $0.25 a week right now from Anchor. It goes up like I don't know. I have no sponsor, but every once in a while I get a few pennies in it. I was like, ooh, gee, I think I made 25 cents in the last week and a half.
It's feel bad money for all the money they made off of you.
Yeah, but listen, in a couple of episodes, or depending on when this one goes up, maybe like tomorrow or maybe like yesterday, but in a couple of episodes, we're gonna hit 365, which means a year of doing this. And for year 2, might need to figure out ways to make the tavern more lively. Now, we did get an offer for somebody who was talking about sponsoring the podcast to allow for transcription. but I don't think they have any clue how much transcription services will cost.
No, that's ridiculous. It's not by the hour; it's by the word most of the time.
Yeah, and it really just I hate to say, folks, it isn't feasible for us to do so. And I know there are people that would prefer to have it now. If your tavern keeper was keeping up on stuff, I could put it up on YouTube and then have YouTube do closed captioning.
That's a great idea. Who thought of that, Tenkar?
That was you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Shush. But of course, your tavern keeper's been behind on a lot of that stuff. But I'm also trying to figure out, since we're coming up on season 2, do we start renumbering the episodes now as season 2, episode 1, or do we go on with episode 366?
I will let your audience respond to that because I see pros and cons either way. So, audience, get to lively responding to that question.
Yes, so that means our most prolific voicemailers, Spike Pitt and Joe and Tim. You can give me your ideas on that. Right, there are pros and cons. Certainly can't go without any sort of numberings like some other podcasts do because we just have too many episodes.
Right. You know what you can do for, well, not Anchor said sponsorship, just sponsorship in general, is maybe, I don't know, maybe like Frog God Games wouldn't mind a 1-minute commercial for you to do and pay you, I don't know, $5 or something like that. Just using them as an example, not committing or saying that they will, but for you others listening out there, maybe message Tenkar or something.
No, I'll be honest with you. Even the my Anchor sponsorships were about, I think, 30 seconds or so.
Yeah, they're short.
They were short, and I think you can get a lot of information out in those 30 seconds. I'm not talking about like Super Bowl ad. Give me 15 seconds because it's going to cost me $1.8 million. No, but yeah, there's probably something we could work. I right now our numbers on Anchor are pretty good. I think we are at 115,000 plays of the podcast in the last year.
I hear your numbers and I look at my podcast and I just shake my head. Not in the good way.
But why? I don't want this problem. No,
there's no problem for you. Don't get me wrong.
I got you. So, and Anchor used to tell you how many times your average episode was downloaded, and that was over the course of the existence of your podcast. Now, Anchor is telling you over the last 30 days, based on plays of your podcast, how many listeners you have. So, the Tavern has, according to that, about 235 listeners. I do know that generally within 12 hours, we have 100 plays easily, and within 2 or 3 days, we're over 200 for most days. So that number is probably pretty accurate, and I'm very happy with that. And it's only going up. So, to all the people out there listening, huge fucking thank you. Really do appreciate you getting the word out there, and I enjoy this. It's a fun. It's fun. Even if I'm not getting paid for it, it's a lot of fun. I've been blogging for 10 years as of the end of this month. Why would I do so for 10 years?
I mean, you just hate yourself, obviously.
Obviously. You must really not like yourself? But, and just as a side note, maybe Rachel will get a chance to hear this later, but I really do, whether it's on the blog side or the podcast side, I really do owe a lot of this to Rach for allowing me to invest the time in doing this. And it was funny because even last night, after watching episode 5, season 8 of Game of Thrones, and she's like, "Oh, are you going to put your podcast up now?" I'm like, "Yeah, no, I did an interview earlier today." She goes, "Oh, I was hoping you were going to talk about tonight's episode." I go, "Why?" "Because you seemed about as upset as I was." "Yeah." "Well, I want to hear you rant." That's the kind of support I get. That's what my wife telling me, go do your podcast because I want to hear it and make my snide comments in the background. So yeah, I'm blessed.
Well, speaking of promotion, being a frog now, can I promote some shit?
Yes, you should. And there's a certain Kickstarter coming up that should certainly airtime.
We don't do Kickstarters, no.
No, not the frogs. We do starter kicks.
Yeah, let's get some links together.
Oh yes, Leaky kiss.
Alright, we're talking about 3 things, folks. I'll keep it simple. Seas King's Malice is launching tomorrow. At some point.
Tomorrow when we record, most likely you're going to listen to this, and Sea King's Malice will be up.
Sea King's Malice is out now.
There you go. We don't edit either, so that should stay in. Go ahead.
Fantastic. Just put the video link in chat, and if it's out already, I guess maybe Tenkar can add the Kickstarter link. But there's the video link at least. It's a really cool video. I don't think Sea Adventures get enough love, and there's tons of bestiary creatures, sea creatures, to be used in general. Next will be our Frog newsletter. We have exclusive coupons and information and deals. Again, exclusive coupons. Hint, hint. If you sign up for our newsletter, there's the link for that you only get through the newsletter. And then we have our Indiegogo. We have that going right now, which is the Mystery at Raven Rock, which is the sequel to Raven Reach Adventure. So it's part 2 of that. Either one can be run as an individual, and I'll actually put the link in instead of giving you a title for it. But yeah, that's going on right now. I talked Zach into giving a little bit extra time for you folks to back. So don't wait back. Prove me right so we can have longer Indiegogo times, please.
So now the Indiegogo is used for the shorter softcover adventures, correct?
Right, but we don't cheap out because of that. Our paper is really high quality, and you know when you touch it, what I'm talking about. It's thick, kind of like almost like a postcard as far as the cover goes. And then the inside paper is also extraordinarily thick, so it's going to last. And all of those have been successful. We put out about 4 or 5 now, and they're very cool. We have different.
Well, they are. The covers are striking.
They are. They pop, and you could tell it's an adventure from us when you see it.
And when you say that they use good paper, now I'm not going to mention the publisher who put out a very large reprint, and the paper and led through. I wasn't very impressed. I can't say that's ever been an issue with any of the frog cases. I'm not just saying that because I'm a client and the convention coordinator. I'm just saying that because Frog products are not inexpensive, but you are certainly getting what you pay for.
Right. And these are limited print runs, guys. We're not going to reprint these. The only thing they'll be available for them are PDFs, so you got to get them now. We overprint a little bit, so you might catch us selling one at a con every now and then, but for certain, if you want it, you need to back, so you're guaranteed to get a copy.
Agreed. And they are damn good stuff.
Right. So I talked Zach into, instead of a 14-day Indiegogo, we're going to do 28 days. Test that out. So again, don't prove me wrong.
Please don't prove him wrong. If you do, I'll never hear the end of it.
I will complain till he's deaf. I really will.
Yes. And he's not joking, folks. He's not joking. Well,
no, I'm not. So yeah, that's my car salesman pitch. There you go. Click my links. Buy my stuff.
Yeah, thank you, Courtney.
Uh-huh.
I said thank you, Courtney.
Oh, you're welcome. I learned from the best. Thank you.
I know. But no, this is in all seriousness, folks. These are Alex Kammer is the one with Sea King's Malice. Uh, Alex, if you don't know, he's the one behind Gamehole. He's a very good writer and just a good overall person, and an excellent lawyer apparently. So this should be fun stuff.
And I will say, I will brag on the art here. The art in this one's, I want to take you out to dinner kind of art. It's top notch. It's very colorful. It pops. Everything's really unique in it. I would highly recommend at least clicking on the video when you're listening to this to just take a look at some of the art pieces. I'm a personal fan of the. Well, you'll see. I'm a personal fan of everything in there. So there you go. I'm done.
There you go.
My corner.
Couldn't say it any better. Well, Pexx, as always, thank you, man. As if you folks couldn't tell, Pexx and I do talk fairly frequently. Or from the banter, I'm sure you had no idea that I talk with Pexx on a regular basis.
Oh, I thought I was just being a jackass. No, we talk on a regular basis.
So, as always, Pexx, thank you. I will make sure to links in the show notes, folks, if you want to. Look in the show notes, or if you are a lazy fuck and you don't want to look at the show notes, go to Google, put in Sea King's Malice Kickstarter, and it'll take you right to the Kickstarter. If you want to check out Mystery at Raven Rock, it's Mystery at Raven Rock Indiegogo. Don't ask me how to spell Indiegogo. Whenever I try to spell it, I fucking spell it wrong. But
well, here's the easy way. Go. Like die like you're killing somebody died.
Oh, see, that's something I didn't know. Figure that one out. All right, folks. Well, thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for our live audience, which in this case is Ian. Thank you, Ian. We're doing this on a Monday morning. Well, all right, Monday early afternoon at this point, but you're not going to grab too many listeners live at these times. Evenings are a bit better, but evenings suck. If you want more of Pexx, join the Tenkar's Tavern Discord server. You can abuse Pexx on the server as much as you want, as long as it's not real abuse. Does that make sense, Pexx?
I don't know. I may want that. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, come abuse me.
Yeah.
Come right here.
Come abuse me. And if Pexx will also often be found on the RPG Breakfast Club, right?
Yep, the RPG Breakfast Club and the RPG Coast to Coast.
And even pops in on the Frog Chat at 9 p.m. Tuesdays Eastern, and Tavern Chat 9 p.m. Eastern on Wednesdays. Not everyone, but if you want more Pexx, these are the ways to get more Pexx into your life. I don't know. That sounded better in my head than it actually came out my mouth.
Come get Pexxed. There you go.
There you go. Come get Pexx, folks. Come get Pexxed at the Tenkar's Tavern Discord server. All right, folks. As always, stay safe, be well. God bless. Roll those dice. And I will talk with you all tomorrow. Later, folks.